The New England Patriots are being heavily linked back to pending free agent wide receiver Tee Higgins at the start of free agency. This is a report that is coming from Jason La Canfora saying, and I quote, that the New England Patriots really want Bengals free agent wide receiver Tee Higgins, and they will be a main suitor for him. The question mark is going to be, is it realistic that Tee Higgins actually hits free agency? We're going to talk about that in today's video. What's going on, everybody? My name is Colby Cochran, also known as Patriots Global. I appreciate you for clicking on today's video to hear me talk about some Patriots news. Today's video brought to you by BetUS. We'll talk to you a little bit later how you can get an exclusive deal from them. But let's just jump into this and ask ourselves that first question. Is it realistic that Tee Higgins is going to hit the open market? I'm sure, as we all know, we've all heard that the likelihood of him hitting the open market has decreased each and every single week. This is in large part because Cincinnati Bengals star quarterback Joe Burrow has made it very publicly known that he wants Tee Higgins back. Now, the thing is that Joe Burrow has said this about pretty much every single star player that is rumored to potentially leave the Bengals. Now, I get it. You know, you're the leader of the team. You want every good player to stay. If you're going to win championships, you need the best players possible. But I don't think Joe Burrow necessarily understands how the league works. Guys want to get paid. If you don't have enough money, you can't expect them to stay here and take pay cut after pay cut after pay cut. Now, Joe Burrow is willing to take a small pay cut, but how big of a pay cut is he willing to take? Because he's being paid as one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the National Football League, making over $50 million a year. Then, given the fact that Jamar Chase, he's going to be owed a contract, he's the number one wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's going to make $35+ million alone. And then you got Trey Hendrickson, who's rumored to want out of Cincinnati for a new contract. You're going to have to pay him upwards of $20+ million also. You look at somebody like Tee Higgins, and we'll get into his contract here in just a moment, but he's also going to make over $20 million. Looking at all of those players in a bubble, are you really going to pay over $100 million for 4 players alone? That's just not smart football. So I think that overall, no, we don't currently know if Tee Higgins is going to leave Cincinnati. We're going to see where his priorities are. If his heart lies with Cincinnati, if his heart lies with Joe Burrow, he's going to have to take a pay cut because he will get more on the open market than the Bengals are going to be able to give him. But if he feels like the way that he is, quote, valued is by money, then he's 100% going to leave in free agency. If I'm the Bengals, I want to get Tee Higgins signed before he hits free agency. Because if Higgins does go out there and he starts hearing other offers from other teams, I think it's very likely that he ends up leaving the Cincinnati Bengals because he's going to get paid significantly higher than they are going to offer him. And that gets us into the contract side of things. Now, obviously, for tampering reasons, the Patriots can't make it known to Tee Higgins, hey, we really want you, and we're going to make you the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, which I'm not saying they were going to. I'm not saying they should do that, but they obviously can't tell him the negotiations of the contract that they would offer. But there's kind of loopholes in the NFL, right? Like, you can make it known to a player pretty much whatever you want without necessarily tampering. You can, have a friend that knows a friend and say, hey, nudge, nudge. Maybe just let Tee Higgins know that this is the number we're willing to throw out there for him so that he knows that he has other options outside of Cincinnati. I'm looking at the money that he could potentially get. It's rumored that he's going to get around $25 million. That's around the money that Devontae Smith is making. Now, both number 2 wide receivers for their respective teams could be wide receiver 1 somewhere else. I think that if he stays with Cincinnati, that's what he's going to get, $25 million. I think if he hits the open market, considering he's the number 1 wide receiver, a lot of teams need him. He's still young, and he's arguably the number 1 free agent in this class this offseason. I think he's going to get more than $25 million. I could even see him getting about $28 million, making what Devontae Adams and Jalen Waddle are currently making. And given the fact that Tee Higgins is only 26 years old, he also just turned 26, you could go out there, give him a 4-year deal, not have to worry about that whole, him being 30 and falling off the edge like a lot of wide receivers do, because his contract will be up at that point. He's a part of the rebuild. He's a part of your organization when hopefully you start contending again. He becomes Drake May's best friend, builds with Drake May here in year 2. But someone like Tee Higgins also has the experience that you need in your system, but more specifically, the type of experience that your quarterback needs. With Drake May being young and still developing, he needs to be surrounded with guys who can help lead him, not just from a coaching standpoint, from on field, though, from a personnel standpoint. And Tee Higgins obviously has regular season, postseason, and Super Bowl experience. And again, understanding the fact that Ja'Marr Chase is also about to be owed a new contract, I just don't think it's likely that they're going to go out there, give Ja'Marr Chase a 4-year, $35+ million contract, and then go out and give Tee Higgins another 4-year, $25 million contract. That just doesn't make sense to me. If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, which wide receiver would you rather have? Would you rather have Tee Higgins or would you rather have Ja'Marr Chase? If you want Tee Higgins so bad, take him and give me Ja'Marr Chase, because that's the better wide receiver. Now, before we continue on today's video, I want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of this video over at BetUS. Right now, when you guys sign up and use the code you see on the screen, YouTube150, that is YouTube150, you will lock yourselves into a limited time exclusive offer of a 150% sign up bonus on your first deposit, followed by 125 on your next two, all the way up to $2,000. That is a deal on your first 3 deposits right now. The Super Bowl might be over. NFL football is officially over until the start here of 2025, the 2025 season. That's a long time to go without football, but BetUS, they have the best betting variety in the business. So there's a lot more for you to bet on than just NFL games. They even have NFL futures. Right now, you can bet on where some of the top free agents are going to land in less than a month. They also have college football, basketball, baseball, hockey, horse racing, fighting, politics, entertainment, you name it, and BetUS is going to have it. The deal doesn't stop there, because they're also giving you 10% back on your net losses 2 times a year, something that no other sportsbook is doing. But play smart, play responsible, never bet more than you can afford to lose. But a massive, massive shout out to BetUS. Now, let's say that Tee Higgins does hit free agency. Let's say that he actually comes to the New England Patriots. Does the role make sense for him in Josh McDaniels' offense? And here's what I'll say. Does he fit Josh McDaniels' offense the way that I feel like he would have fit Alex Van Pelt's offense? No. I think that big body X receiver, I think that's a lot more prominent in AVP's offense. And I think that we saw that this past season, where they constantly rotated guys at X because that's such a vocal point to that offense. In the Josh McDaniels offense, it's a little bit different. Now, we've seen them try to put in and imply that X receiver several times throughout the last 20 years under that Josh McDaniels system. As of late, that the last few years there, they were trying to find that X, and it really wasn't working out for them. You had N'Keal Harry, you tried to get Josh Gordon in. So how much of it at the end was it didn't work in McDaniels' offense versus they just simply couldn't find the guy? But I feel like in Josh's offense, it's a lot more short to intermediate route. You're kind of utilizing that running game more. You're utilizing that third down running back. And when it comes to wide receivers, you're more so utilizing that slot receiver. You think about it, Josh McDaniels, the 20 years that he was here, that prominent receiver in his offense wasn't that big body X receiver for the most part, right? It was the tight ends. It was that slot receiver. That's what I think. I think while you want Tee Higgins, what you really need to do more so is go out there and figure out who your main slot receiver is going to be for the entire season. Someone who can take, like I've been saying, 70, 80 plus receptions on the season if need be. Someone that works very, very well in the middle of the field. The thing with Tee Higgins, though, is he's not like these other X receivers that we've seen. He's not this slow, can't separate, purely X receiver on the outside. He's someone who's going to bring height, but he has a really, really good lower body. He's someone that gets really good separation because of his footwork, has a really good route tree, runs really good routes, has that versatility outside and inside. So this is somebody that if the Patriots want to play in the slot and have a bigger slot receiver, they can certainly do so. But if they want somebody on the outside, that's also something he can do. A guy that they can utilize any given week, depending on the matchup that they're going to have offensively. I also think, too, that at some point, you just need to get good wide receivers in here. I mean, Kendrick Bourne at this point in his career, coming off of a season-ending injury in 2023, his age, he's probably a wide receiver 3 at this point. Demario Douglas, he's about a wide receiver 3 also. I still am not bought into Kayshon Boutte being a second wide receiver. He's certainly not a first. Right now, I'd put him in that third wide receiver category also. And then you have busts, at least to this point, of Javon Baker and Jalen Polk. So it's not just that the Patriots need a wide receiver 1, but in a lot of cases, the Patriots also need a wide receiver 2. Tee Higgins is the type of guy that if you can go out there and you can get him, just don't overthink it. I think that's been the problem for the Patriots so many times throughout recent years was they thought too much into how they were going to utilize a player. Does this guy really work out for us or not? They never looked at it and said, this guy has pure talent. Let's just get him in the building and then figure it out. And that's kind of my thought process here with Tee Higgins. And I know that a lot of people have this idea on, well, I don't want him because he's always been the wide receiver 2 there, Colby, right? Like he was never like the alpha dog. Can he come here and put up 1,000+ yards for us? And I certainly think that he can do so. You look at it, he was drafted in 2020. That was the same year that Joe Burrow was drafted. This was a year before Jamar Chase got there. In 16 games, he was targeted 108 times, 67 receptions, 908 yards, 13.6 yards on average, 6 touchdowns, and a long catch of 67 yards. Keep in mind, too, Joe Burrow had a season-ending injury later on in this exact season. So I honestly think that year one, as a rookie without Jamar Chase, if Joe Burrow had stayed healthy, Tee Higgins would have immediately put up 1,000 yards. In 2021, this is the year that the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, lost against the Rams. This was year one of Jamar Chase. Higgins plays in 14 games, deals with a little bit of injuries, 110 targets. So targeted more than he was in his rookie season. 74 receptions, 1,091 yards, 14.7 yards on average, 6 touchdowns. I mean, you can see it here. Had another 1,000-yard season in 2022. In 2023, unfortunately, dealt with injuries, only put up about 656 yards, but he was on pace to have a career year averaging 15.6 yards per reception. And then this past year, kind of that same thing happening. And the other thing you have to remember, too, is that in 2023, Joe Burrow did again get injured. But even in 2024, with Joe Burrow back, they started off slow. He plays in 12 games. Again, injury problems. But he's targeted 109 times with 73 receptions for 911 yards. Me personally, I don't have any fear that he's going to come in here and not live up to the expectations on what ultimately he's getting paid. We also have to understand that the league is very much switching to the contracts that they're being given due to a lot of different aspects, the new TV deals, all of these things. The cap space is going up, which means what players are making is going up. And we're seeing this every single offseason with quarterbacks and wide receivers getting paid more and more and more. So even if the contract right now looks bad for Tee Higgins, 2 years down the road, we might be saying he's getting paid as a wide receiver 2 and not as a wide receiver 1. So for some reason, let's say he comes in here, he isn't this game-defining number 1 wide receiver for whatever surprising reason, and he ultimately ends up just being a wide receiver 2 for you, a high-end wide receiver 2. I don't see a problem with that either. Again, bringing somebody in like Tee Higgins, that gets you that guy. That gets you the best wide receiver that you've had in this organization for years. I can't really think of a lot. Maybe since Brandon Cooks in 2017. This is a guy that's going to be able to grow with your young quarterback. It's going to please the fans. Fans finally can go out there, go to the Patriots Pro Shop, get a guy's jersey, and know that that guy's going to be here for at least the next several years and become a fan favorite. I think he checks all the boxes. That biggest question is just going to come down to, will he actually hit free agency? But this is where I kick it to you guys. What are your thoughts on the rumors that the Patriots are expected to have heavy interest in Bengals wide receiver Tee Higgins? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on this video and, of course, subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news, thoughts, reactions, and breakdowns. We will see you guys in the next one. Another big shout out to BetUS, but stay safe.